mommy and daddy.
She lost her mommy and daddy. You want to use my cell phone? Hmm? Next.
The movie opens with Dave Lazevsky, an ordinary teenager who is practically invisible at school. His only close friends are Todd and Marty. Dave constantly fantasizes about girls and has a crush on Katie Dama, who barely knows he exists. After his mother dies from an aneurysm, Dave realizes that unlike comic book heroes, tragedy does not automatically transform an ordinary person's life. Sometimes, life simply continues. At a comic book cafe, Dave asks why no one has ever tried to become a real superhero. Todd and Marty tell him it would be impossible without superpowers or a fortune. Just then, Chris D'Amico enters the store. He is the lonely, spoiled son of local mob boss Frank D'Amico. Todd suggests befriending him so no one at school will mess with them, but when Dave approaches Chris, his bodyguard quickly scares him away. On the way home, Dave and Todd are robbed by two street thugs. Dave notices a man watching from a nearby window, but the witness does nothing to help. Furious that everyone simply looks away, Dave decides to become someone who fights back. He orders a green diving suit online, modifies it into a costume, and begins imagining himself as a real hero. Across town, Frank interrogates one of his associates. The man claims that someone dressed like Batman attacked their dealers and stole their drugs. Frank assumes the associate stole the shipment himself and orders his right-hand man, Joe, to torture and kill him before taking Chris to the movies. Meanwhile, former police officer Damon McCready trains his 11-year-old daughter, Mindy. He makes her wear a bulletproof vest and shoots her at close range so she can learn how it feels to be hit. Afterward, he helps her up and takes her out for ice cream. Dave spends several weeks training, although fear still prevents him from attempting anything truly dangerous. One day, he spots the same men who robbed him trying to break into a car. He initially walks away, but once he is out of sight, he removes his clothes and reveals his costume underneath. Armed with a baton, Dave returns and confronts them. The men laugh at him before attacking. Dave fights back but is quickly stabbed. As the robbers flee, he stumbles into the road and is struck by a car, which immediately drives away. Before being taken to the hospital, Dave begs the paramedic to hide his costume so no one discovers his identity. As a result, he arrives at the hospital completely naked. Joe later tells Frank that his associate probably wasn't responsible for stealing the shipment. Chris tries to join the conversation because he wants to learn about his father's business, but Frank dismisses him. Believing a Russian mobster is responsible, Frank sends his men to interrogate him. They place the Russian inside a giant industrial microwave used to treat lumber. However, the machine kills him before he can reveal who sold him the stolen drugs. Dave eventually recovers from his injuries, but the accident has changed his body. Several broken bones are reinforced with metal plates, while damaged nerve endings give him an unusually high tolerance for pain. When Dave returns to school, Katie unexpectedly approaches him and invites him to have coffee with her and her friend Erica. Dave is thrilled until Todd and Marty explain that Katie thinks he is gay. Because the paramedics found him naked, rumors have spread around school. Although horrified at first, Dave decides to let Katie believe the rumor because it gives him a chance to spend time with her. Despite nearly dying, Dave remains determined to become a superhero. He straps two batons to his back and creates a MySpace page for his alter ego. With metal-reinforced bones and a reduced sense of pain, he returns to the streets as Kickass. One night, Kickass sees a poster for a missing cat and decides to search for it. He finds the cat sitting on a diner sign, but while climbing toward it, he falls onto a man running for his life. Several thugs catch the man and begin beating him. Kickass intervenes and fights them. He asks a passerby to call 911, but instead, the man enters the diner and announces that someone dressed as a superhero is fighting outside. People gather and begin recording. One thug pulls out a knife and asks Kickass whether he is really willing to die for someone he does not even know. Kickass says he is. Realizing they are being filmed, the thugs flee. When someone asks who he is, Dave proudly introduces himself as Kickass. The footage becomes the most watched video on the internet, turning Kickass into an overnight celebrity. Chris watches the news with his parents and says Kickass seems impressive, but Frank mocks his lack of fighting skills and predicts that he will soon be killed. Damon and Mindy also watch the video. Mindy believes Kickass has potential, but Damon is unimpressed. Dave continues answering messages through his website and gains more supporters. One day, Katie tells him about Rasul, a drug dealer she met while volunteering. Rasul has been harassing her and refuses to leave her alone. Dave convinces Katie to contact Kickass for help. That night, Dave goes to Rasul's apartment and threatens to break his leg if he bothers Katie again. Rasul is not intimidated, and his gang quickly surrounds Dave. Dave shoots Rasul in the forehead with a stun gun, but the others pin him down. As Rasul prepares to stab him, Mindy suddenly appears in costume and drives a double-bladed weapon into Rasul's back. Calling herself Hit Girl, she brutally kills the gang while Kickass scrambles out of the way. One surviving thug sneaks up behind her, but Damon shoots him through the head from a nearby building. Hit Girl takes the gang's money before introducing Damon as Big Daddy. She then leaps across the rooftops and escapes with him. Dave remains behind because he is too afraid to follow. Dave returns home and cries himself to sleep. After seeing Big Daddy and Hit Girl in action, he realizes they are genuine vigilantes while he is just a teenager wearing a diving suit. Joe later shows Frank a photograph of Big Daddy taken by one of their dead associates. Since they do not know who Big Daddy is, Joe assumes the masked man might be Kickass. Believing Kickass is attacking his organization, Frank orders Joe to kill him. That same night, Big Daddy and Hit Girl enter Dave's bedroom. They explain that they easily traced him through the IP address connected to his website. Dave tells them he intends to quit, but Big Daddy says that if he ever needs their help, he should post that he is on vacation. They then disappear. Frank contacts Detective Vic Gigante and asks him to deal with Kickass, but Gigante refuses because it falls outside his jurisdiction. Meanwhile, one of Frank's men, Cody, goes missing. Big Daddy and Hit Girl have kidnapped him and forced him to reveal information about Frank's operation before killing him. Dave continues spending time with Katie, enjoying the opportunity created by her belief that he is gay. While helping her apply self-tanner, Katie mentions that Rasul has not contacted her for a week. Dave nervously pretends not to know why. At Damon's home, his former police partner, Marcus William, discovers his collection of weapons. Years earlier, Frank framed Damon, causing him to lose his job and spend 5 years in prison. While Damon was incarcerated, his pregnant wife took her own life shortly after giving birth to Mindy. Marcus raised Mindy while Damon trained himself to become a vigilante. After leaving prison, Damon took Mindy back and trained her to help him seek revenge against Frank. Marcus argues that Mindy deserves a normal childhood. He also warns Damon that Detective Gigante is searching for the vigilantes, but he agrees to keep their secret. As his men continue disappearing, Frank becomes increasingly paranoid. One day, he sees someone wearing a Kickass costume, follows him, and beats him to death, unaware that the man is only an imitator. Katie eventually learns that Rasul is dead and blames herself for contacting Kickass. Dave comforts her, and Katie admits that she wishes he were not gay. Meanwhile, Joe criticizes Frank for personally killing the Kickass impersonator. Chris secretly listens from outside before entering and offering a better plan to capture the real Kickass. Chris creates his own superhero identity, Red Mist. To establish his reputation, he helps expose one of Frank's dealers, causing the media to celebrate him as another new vigilante. Red Mist eventually contacts Kickass and claims Dave inspired him. He offers to become his sidekick and impresses him with an expensive sports car. Red Mist then convinces Kickass to fight crime with him, while secretly driving him toward one of Frank's warehouses, where armed men are waiting. Frank is proud that Chris has successfully lured Kickass into the trap. However, when they arrive, the warehouse is already burning. Kickass follows Red Mist inside and discovers that everyone has been killed. Before escaping, Red Mist grabs a teddy bear from a shelf. He and Kickass run outside, moments before the warehouse explodes. After seeing the destruction, Frank fears that Chris has been killed. Chris soon returns and explains that Kickass is not the real threat. He shows Frank footage recorded by a hidden camera inside the teddy bear. The video reveals Big Daddy killing Frank's men and setting the warehouse on fire. Now knowing who is truly attacking his organization, Frank convinces Chris to help him set a trap for Big Daddy. Marcus warns Damon that Gigante knows Kickass was not responsible for destroying Frank's warehouse. He advises Damon to lie low, but Damon tells Mindy it is time to finish what they started. Meanwhile, Dave decides to quit being Kickass. Before doing so, he visits Katie and reveals his identity. Startled, she sprays him with pepper spray, forcing him to remove his mask. Dave admits that he is not gay and has always been in love with her. Although shocked, Katie forgives him, and the two begin dating. Over the next week, Dave enjoys a normal life as he and Katie hang out with Todd, Marty, and Erica. He soon notices several messages from Red Mist asking for help. Dave tells Katie where he is going and meets Red Mist, who claims they are both being blamed for the warehouse attack. He convinces Dave to contact Big Daddy for help. Dave posts that he is on vacation on his MySpace page. Damon and Mindy notice the signal while examining a powerful new weapon and arrange to meet him at one of their hideouts. Red Mist drives Dave to the location while Frank's men secretly follow them. Big Daddy is surprised to see Red Mist, but allows them inside. Hit Girl greets them from near the window, but Red Mist suddenly shoots her in the chest. She falls through the window as Damon screams in horror. Frank's men storm the room and knock Big Daddy and Kickass unconscious. Red Mist orders them to release Kickass because he considers him a friend, but they ignore him and throw Kickass into the back of a van. One of the men takes Big Daddy's bazooka before bringing Red Mist back to Frank. Red Mist confronts his father for breaking their agreement by taking Kickass. Frank explains that Big Daddy threatens his business, while publicly killing Kickass will discourage anyone else from becoming a superhero. Soon, a countdown appears online, announcing that Kickass will be unmasked. People across New York tune in, including Katie, who initially assumes Dave planned the event himself. Her excitement turns to horror when the live stream shows Kickass and Big Daddy tied to chairs. Masked men begin beating them, while thousands watch helplessly. Marcus also sees the broadcast but cannot reach them. The men pour gasoline over Big Daddy. Unknown to them, Hit Girl survived because she was wearing a bulletproof vest. She enters the building, cuts the power, and uses night vision goggles to attack Frank's men in the darkness. One thug manages to set Big Daddy on fire. Even while burning, Big Daddy calls out enemy positions, helping Hit Girl eliminate the remaining attackers. Hit Girl extinguishes the flames, but her father is already dying. They share one final moment before Big Daddy takes his last breath. Hit Girl frees Kickass and brings him back to their hideout. Kickass tries to convince her to abandon the vigilante life, but she refuses to stop until Frank is dead. Feeling responsible for Damon's death, Kickass agrees to help. He takes the powerful weapon Damon recently purchased and prepares to join her. At Frank's headquarters, his men wait for Kickass and Hit Girl to attack. Mindy approaches the front entrance dressed as an innocent schoolgirl. Since the guards have never seen her face, they allow her inside. She pretends to be lost and says she cannot find her parents. When one guard kneels and offers her his phone, Mindy pushes a pistol into his mouth and shoots him. Before the others can react, she kills them and changes into her Hit Girl costume. Moving through the building, Hit Girl eliminates Frank's men with guns, knives, and stealth. When she runs out of ammunition, she continues fighting with blades. Eventually, several men trap her behind a counter, while another retrieves Big Daddy's bazooka. Just as he prepares to fire, a mechanical noise comes from outside the windows. Kickass appears wearing a jetpack, equipped with rapid-fire miniguns, and kills the remaining guards. Inside his office, Frank hears the shooting stop and assumes his men have won. Instead, Kickass and Hit Girl burst through the door. Frank orders Red Mist to deal with Kickass while he fights Hit Girl. Kickass and Red Mist move into a nearby dojo. Kickass uses his batons while Red Mist fights with a wooden sword. After a clumsy but intense struggle, they knock each other unconscious at the same time. Meanwhile, Hit Girl attacks Frank, but he proves to be a skilled and powerful fighter. He overwhelms her, repeatedly striking her and slamming her against his desk. Frank grabs a handgun and prepares to shoot her, but Kickass regains consciousness and enters the room carrying the bazooka. Frank turns his gun toward him, but Kickass fires first. The rocket blasts Frank through the window, and he explodes high above the city. Red Mist wakes and grabs a sword, but he is too late. He watches Kickass fly away with Hit Girl using the jetpack. They land on a nearby rooftop where Kickass removes the equipment. Hit Girl thanks him and says that Big Daddy would have been proud of them. She finally removes her mask and wig, revealing her face and telling Kickass her real name. Dave retires as Kickass and continues dating Katie. Mindy moves in with Marcus, who becomes her guardian and enrolls at Dave's school. On her first day, two bullies try to intimidate her and demand her lunch money, but Mindy simply smiles and cracks her knuckles. Meanwhile, Chris takes over his late father's office and creates a darker version of his Red Mist identity. If you enjoyed this video, don't be shy to hit the like button, and if you disliked it, hit the dislike button twice, just to be sure. It would be best if you watched the whole movie. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe for more videos like this.